Late afternoon in Edinburgh, the last rays of the day fell on the ancient grey roof of the Balmoral Hotel, which had just witnessed an event that had the media and fans in a frenzy: the secret wedding of Katrina Balfe and Sam Heughan. No longer just a rumor or gossip, the golden couple of Outlander had officially tied the knot after many years together both on screen and in real life. But while all eyes were on the happy smiles of the two main characters, in another place, Tony McGill, Katrina's former husband, was drowning in a pain he never thought he would have to face. Tony sat alone in his empty apartment in London. The room that used to be his and Katrina's home now contained only old photos, a few souvenirs and an eerie silence. The phone in his hand was still open to the newspaper with the headline: "Official, Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe married in private ceremony in Edinburgh, a fairy tale ending." He read it over and over again, unable to believe his eyes. His heart was pounding, each beat like a scratch on his heart. No one knew exactly what had happened between him and Katrina, but Tony knew. He knew that from the first day Sam entered Katrina's life, through the role of Jamie Fraser, something had changed. Tony was a private person. As a musician, a producer, he had always stayed behind the spotlight. When he fell in love with Katrina, he had never felt nervous, because he believed in the maturity and sincerity of both of them. But then, he began to realize that her conversations with Sam were getting longer and longer, and her eyes always lit up in an unusual way when talking about Sam. And then, one day, without a word, he understood: Katrina loved Sam. The divorce was quiet, just like the way they had lived. No noise, no scandal. But that silence did not mean no pain. Tony put his head down on the table. A glass of Scotch whiskey was downed. He was not a drinker, but today, after seeing those happy images, he could not help but reach for something to ease the pain that was eroding his mind. His mind was spinning. The image of Katrina in her pure white wedding dress appeared clearly. He remembered the first time she said, "I like simplicity, Tony. A private wedding, no noise." And today, she really got it, just not with him. The media was going crazy. Outlander fans were bursting with joy as if a decades-long dream had finally come true. But no one wondered if someone was hurt enough to want to disappear. Tony stepped out onto the balcony. The light drizzle brushed his shoulders, chilling. He looked down at the street. Everything was going on as usual. Cars were running, people were rushing. The world was spinning, even when his heart was broken. He pulled out his old guitar, the only thing in this house that still had emotion. His fingers trembled as they ran over the strings. A sad melody played, a song that had never been named, but was filled with loneliness. "Katrina, have you ever thought of me today?" he whispered hopelessly. "Maybe not. Or maybe, but only for a fleeting moment amid the contented smile of a new bride." Sam Heughan, despite his happiness, had faced many doubts. He knew that the eyes of the world would not easily let him go when his love affair with Katrina became public. But Sam was steadfast. He waited, sacrificed, and proved with all his respect for the woman he loved. And now, as the ring sparkled on Katrina's finger, Sam knew that all the challenges were worth it. Only Tony was the only one standing on the sidelines of this fairy tale. Not a villain, not a victim, simply a man who loved. But not destined. When the night fell, Tony closed his eyes, letting the tears fall. No noise, no drama. He knew tomorrow would be a new day, but in his heart, a door had closed, forever. The next morning, the weak sunlight filtered through the curtains as if trying to awaken a weary soul. Tony opened his eyes in extreme fatigue. The room was still eerily silent, no more laughter, no more familiar warmth. Everything was like a cold blanket covering his memories of the past years. He walked into the kitchen, made a cup of coffee. No milk, no sugar, just the way Katrina liked it. But this time, no one grimaced at the bitterness. No one said, "Tony, is this coffee for robots?" He laughed, a bitter laugh. Suddenly, his eyes stopped on an old plane ticket stuck between a book on the shelf. Edinburgh, May 2019. The last trip they took together before everything started to fall apart. Tony quietly closed the book, but a thought arose in his heart. He couldn't continue living as a shadow of himself. He needed to leave, not to escape, but to find himself again, the man he was before everything fell apart. Tony opened his laptop, searching for flights away from England. He didn't want to go to America, where Katrina and Sam's careers were shining brightly. He didn't want to stay in Europe, where every corner could be a memory. Tokyo, a city that never sleeps, where everything is unfamiliar, and therefore, could be a beginning. He booked a ticket, one way. Without thinking, without looking back, before he left the door, he turned back to look at the apartment one last time. He left his old wedding ring on the table, next to the wedding photo. "I wish you happiness, Katrina, and thank you for loving me." The door closed softly, but firmly. Tony McGill, the man behind one of the most talented actresses ever, is now ready to write a new chapter in his life, even if only with a heart that is learning to rise from the ashes.